Let's go ahead and use the completing the square method to solve a few quadratic equations. This method is an alternative to using the quadratic formula. So we have our quadratic equation here. We have x squared minus 9 times x plus 14, and we have that set to 0. First thing we want to do is subtract both sides by our constant term. That's going to be our positive 14. We're going to subtract 14 from both sides of the equation. And that leaves us with x squared minus 9x set equal to negative 14. Next, let's take the coefficients of the x term. We're going to take that number, we're going to divide it by 2, and we're going to square it. And we're going to take the result of that and add it to both sides of the equation. Okay, so we took our coefficient in front of the x term, which is negative 9. We divided that by 2. We squared the result. And then we added that result to both sides of the equation. That's going to be our 81 over 4. We have 81 over 4 on both sides. Now let's go ahead and simplify. So simplifying, we're going to go ahead and multiply our negative 14 by the denominator of 81 over 4. And this is going to give us negative 56 over 4 plus 81 over 4, or 25 over 4. So now we have x squared minus 9x plus 81 over 4 is set equal to 25 over 4. Let's go ahead and take this side of the equation and write it out as x minus 9 over 2 all squared. Going from here to here, we're just factoring. And then that's set equal to 25 over 4. From here, let's go ahead and take the square root of both sides of the equation. And that leaves us with x minus 9 over 2 is equal to positive or minus 5/2. Now let's get x by itself. Let's go ahead and add 9 over 2 on both sides. And that leaves us with x is equal to positive or minus 5 over 2 plus 9 over 2. So now let's find both of our values for x. We need to consider both the positive and the negative case. So our x1 is going to be 5 over 2 positive plus 9 over 2. And that gives us 14 over 2, or 7. And our x2 value will be the negative case, negative 5 over 2 plus 9 over 2. That's going to give us 4 over 2, or just 2. So therefore, our final answers are 7 and 2. And if you want to check your answer, you can just go ahead and plug either one of these two numbers into our equation and see if it holds true, if it does in fact equal 0. So let's try it out for 7. We have 7 squared minus 9 times 7 plus 14. So this is going to give us 49 minus 63 plus 14. And that does in fact give us 0. Let's try for 2. So 2 squared minus 9 times 2 plus 14. That gives us 4 minus 18 plus 14. And that gives us 0 as well. So we found our roots by completing the square. Let's go ahead and do one more example. So here we have negative 3x squared minus 2x plus 5 is set equal to negative 3. First things first, let's eliminate the constant on both sides. Let's subtract 5, and that's going to give us negative 3x squared minus 2x equals negative 8. Let's also divide the entire equation by negative 3 so that we can get rid of this negative 3 up here in front of our x squared. Okay, so now we have x squared plus 2/3 x is equal to 8 over 3. Now let's take the coefficient of our linear term. Let's divide it by 2 and square it. We'll do that up here. So we have 2/3 divided by 2 squared. That's going to give us 2 over 6 squared, which is just 1/3 squared, which again is just 1 over 9. So let's go ahead and add this value to both sides of the equation. So now we're left with x squared plus 2 over 3x plus 1 over 9 is equal to 8 over 3 plus 1/9, or this is also 25 over 9. And over here on this side, if you factor all this out, we get x plus 1/3 squared. So we're going to have x plus 1/3 squared is equal to 25 over 9. So now let's go ahead and take the square root on both sides. That's going to give us x plus 1/3 is equal to 5 over 3. And don't forget your plus or minus sign. And then finally, to get the x by itself, let's subtract 1/3 from both sides. So we should be left with x is equal to plus or minus 5/3 minus 1/3. So for our positive case, our x1 value, we're going to have 5/3 minus 1/3, and that's going to give us 4/3. And our x2 case, our negative case, is going to be negative 5/3 minus 1/3. That's going to give us negative 6 over 3, or negative 2. So there we go. We have our two answers, 4/3, negative 2. And if you want to check that, feel free to go back and plug these values in and see if the result is negative 3. If it is, then you know we've done it right. So there is a couple examples on how to complete the square as an alternative to the quadratic formula. Just another way to find the roots of a quadratic equation. Hope this helped you out. Thanks for watching.